guys, Jenny with On Fire Fit, and today I'm talking about 3 ways to make progress when you're feeling stuck. And this is my story in different ways that I have been able to overcome and still work on it, of course. But there are 3 things that I find myself doing, and I think you might be interested. So I hope that you will stick around. But I'm going to tell you one funny story about why I'm a lion and why I know about this whole thing that I'm about to talk about. So when I was pregnant with my son, and that was about 13 years ago, we had recently moved into our current home, and there was a plant or basically a dead root looking thing in our yard. And if you have ever had a child, or you know someone who's had a child, you know that we get into this nesting mode where we want to prepare and get things ready. And so we can get very laser focused on setting things up, getting things clean, getting things prepared for the baby. And I saw that root, and I had it in me that I was going to get that thing out of the ground. Who cares? Nobody else probably noticed it, but for whatever reason, it was the most important thing at that moment for me. So I got the hack thing, and I'm hacking and hacking at this thing. Could not, for the life of me, get that thing out. I spent a lot of time focused on that thing, and I did not ever get it out. Well, unbeknownst to me, come spring, things started to bloom. And we ended up with this gorgeous lily plant. It is beautiful. I still cut the flowers off and bring them in. And my hyper focus in that area was not going to turn out for the best. I'm very glad that it didn't work in that area. But I think this is a very perfect story for what I'm talking about with making progress. So 3 ways. Number 1, you are going to capitalize on your chronotype. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but I'm a lion and I want to know what you are. Second point is to hunker down on habits. I love that word, just hunker down. So we all know about habits. I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how I have put things into play that have been simple, but not easy. And number 3, tap into timers. Let's talk about each one of these. So capitalizing on your chronotype. There is a sleep doctor, he's called, his title is the sleep doctor, who takes you through a quiz, and I am going to link that in the description below. And I actually wrote this all up so that you can get a little bit better idea if you're not quite sure of what I'm talking about. But he does a little quiz that helps you to realize your chronotype. Now, why would you care what your chronotype is and what the heck does that mean? Well, because he's a sleep doctor, which maybe that doesn't make sense to you about being productive, but it should, and you'll find out why. So we have a natural rhythm in our bodies. Some people are morning people, some people are night people. Some people can kind of adjust depending on what their life is. When I had infants and I was nursing all through the night and everything, I don't think I was a morning or a night person. I was an all the time on call person. But I think I naturally am a morning person. Other people are not. My husband's a night owl, and that is sort of his natural, but he has gone through periods where he's had to be both. And right now he's kind of both. But I think when we realize how our bodies naturally are in a productive rhythm, what is our most productive time of the day, and how we can capitalize on that, we can find ways that we can make quicker progress and not fight against ourselves. Because I think that's one of the things that we hear about. Oh, that person, that CEO of Starbucks gets up at 4 a.m. Maybe that's what I have to do. And you try to force it and force it and force it. And maybe in some regards, you can sort of balance things and move up a little bit, get up a half hour earlier and be much more productive. But I don't think you have to become a 4 a.m. person to be productive. You just have to know your chronotype, which I took the quiz and I'm a lion, and it made perfect sense for the description So he tells you all about what that means. And I am definitely a morning productive kind of a person. I am very self-motivated. I'm pretty disciplined. I like to eat healthy because it helps me to be productive. There are other choices. So you could be a bear, you could be a dolphin, or you could be a wolf, or you could be a lion in my pack. So I would be curious to hear what you are. But what that tells me as a lion is that I'm an early morning hunter. So when I get up in the morning, I use my mornings for my most productive and most mindful time. It's the time that I need to do things that require thinking and my mind. So I wouldn't go around cleaning my house at that time, because I can use that during time that my brain's already kind of tiring out and I need something more brainless to do. If you're more of a night owl, then you're going to shift your productive time towards those hours and not feel bad about it. That's the other thing. We don't need to try to compete with somebody else. We just have to find what works best for us. So for me, I schedule out my day so that I try to get my most important things done in the morning, which leads me into hunker down on those habits. So back when I first started On Fire Fit, I was doing a lot of online coaching. I still do that, but I was doing a lot of different things that, granted, they were new and I didn't have a lot of sense of a flow at that point, but I was very fragmented in my time, very fragmented in my thinking, very fragmented in my boundaries. So what I mean by that is I kept my phone plugged in next to my bed. And I've always been the type of person that has to get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And I would check my phone. Did I get anybody new asking me a question? Is there somebody that needs help? Why did I think I needed to deal with that at 2 a.m? Who knows? But just the simple fact of seeing the phone sitting there, and I'm in a dazed and confused state anyway, my reflex is, who needs help? And I would go straight to my phone. And it completely disrupts your sleep cycle. So then you're a little off the next day. But unbeknownst to me, I was doing this on a repeated habitual thing. And all it took was taking the phone and plugging it in the kitchen. And I got to where I did that, which is great. So during the night, I wasn't doing that at all. I didn't even, it didn't even occur to me because I didn't see it sitting there. Besides the fact that you shouldn't have your phone by your bed or in your bedroom because of a whole bunch of other reasons, which I won't get into. But then I noticed that I would start to look at all of my different things when I got up in the morning and went in the kitchen. So I would open up all my different emails and texts and read, and suddenly I'm fighting fires like, whoa, I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do, and I'm already fragmented in my thinking right away. So I've gotten to where I don't look at my phone until I am through with my first chunk of my day. And my first chunk of my day I have blocked out. And I am going to show you kind of what I do if you want to read the description box below. But I'm also going to show you here in a minute what my planner looks like, because it is my way of keeping more of control over my time. And this is in my habits. So they found that there's about 40 to 45% of your day you do under a habit or with a habit. And that may or may not seem like a lot to you, but let's think about it this way. If half of your day, your habits are leading you to productivity, that means that you are making a lot of progress every day without really thinking about it. It's just happening as a byproduct of life for you. You're not having to make a bunch of decisions. You are doing things kind of on autopilot. And if about half of your day is that is really awesome. On the other hand, if half of your day is every 2 minutes you're pulling your phone out to look at it because it's become this crazy habit. So while you're trying to be in a project at work, you're pulling out your phone and looking. Your brain is constantly having to shift out of creative mode into decision-making mode. and then back into that productive or creative mode, and then back into it's too much. Your brain is not supposed to be trying to reconnect on that pathway, that neural pathway that you were on. But it becomes a habit because things like devices with notifications and whatnot tend to just grab our attention and go into our subconscious so that we're not even thinking about it. And you'd probably do that when you're talking to people too. You're pulling out your phone and looking at it instead of just defragmenting that time, focusing on what is right in front of you, enjoying that moment. Those little habits will definitely add up to more productivity. And let's say maybe you're not even trying to be productive. Maybe your area of progress is you want to have better, deeper relationship with someone. Then your habit of, I'm not going to pull my phone out, or I'm going to actually leave it in the other room, or I'm not going to take it when we go out to dinner. That simple little habit will cause progress in your relationship, but you can use this in anything. If I am writing, I leave my phone in the kitchen and I don't have notifications set on it, so I don't hear a bunch of noise coming out, and I always have it on silence. And my kids' school has my home phone number, which rarely rings. So I mean, if there's an emergency, they can get a hold of me. But you just need to set things up so that your habits help you, and just really hunker down on those so that you are not allowing yourself to get pulled in other directions by things, inanimate things that are taking away your control in your life. And so the next thing, the last thing, is setting timers. So when you tap into timers, when you use a timer, the cool thing about this for me, and I think you might like this too, is that it keeps your brain in a very locked in focus. So when I get up in the morning and I spend that first block with God in prayer and everything, I know that when my timer goes off, I have to actually start making lunches and get things ready for school. But I don't have to keep looking at the clock, and I don't have to think about all the other things that I should be doing. This is my time. This is when I have set aside, and everybody's going to be different on how they time things and how much time you have. Some days I don't have to hurry out the door, so I will make my timer a lot longer so that I have more time to just be in that moment, because my most important time for me is my God time in the morning. And so I really want that time to not be distracted. I do try to keep like a little piece of paper next to me where I can jot down like random things that pop into my mind. Oh shoot, I have to call Shelly Ann today or whatever, so that I don't let that become an obsession during that time. But I block out my time and I use timers so that I don't have to think about it. I know that during this block of time, these are the things I'm going to get done. Timer goes off, on to the next thing. When I'm in my work mode, if I'm working at home, I cannot sit for long periods of time, because it will start to not only affect my back and my neck, but I start to get just antsy. So what I try to do is set a timer for every hour, and I will really pour my focus, leave the phone in the other room. I will, and the timer is in the other room on the phone usually, or on my microwave, and I will just sit there and pour everything in for an hour. And then when the timer goes off, I get up and I do my cleaning task, like dusting or whatever, and go about the house. If you work at a desk job, or you're, because I have several other jobs, but depending on what job I'm at, I try to make sure that I get up, stand up for some of the time that I'm working, and then I can sit down, and I set timers on that so that I'm not in a lockdown position hurting my body all day. So using timers in that way, and also if you're in a productive position at work, it's very good to give yourself a break, because your brain does need a time. So even if all it is getting up and taking a walk around the block, around the building, taking up and down a flight of stairs, if you can do that like every hour or two, it really helps your metabolism. So set the timer and use that as a way to stay really laser focused. And then you can ease up a little bit and then right back into it again. And that way you are gonna feel like you've got a little bit of everything going on to keep your body healthy and going strong. So I'm gonna flip the camera around and just show you quickly what my little planner is like. And if you would like to have my little prototype, my little sheet of how I do my schedule, I can give you a blank copy of that. But it's just my way of doing it. Not one way works, but I always like to see how other people come up with things that will help them to stay on track. And it makes you feel like you have more balance. So when I am in my block of my family time, I am with my kids, talking to my kids, making them food, listening to my son play guitar, and I'm not stressing that I should be writing and I should be dusting and I should be whatever. This is my block of time for that. And when I am in my work block, I do these other things. And it just gives you a sense of peace because you are not fragmented, disjointed, and stressed about everything. And you really feel like at the end of the day that you balance things out and you didn't let all those little tiny distractions of your phone or doing this and then running and doing that to cause you to be in this frenzy state. So let me flip it around and let's take a look. Okay, so hopefully you can see this okay with the lighting. This is my little planner, which I don't know, I'm so silly. It said on here when I was trying to pick out my planner, she designed a life she loved. And I just couldn't, it didn't sit right with me. So I put stickers over this. He, that's God, my Father, designed a life she loved. Because really it's not me. I do the best I can with what he gives me, but I'm not really good at designing my own life. So I'm gonna just show you really quick. This is the thing that I'm going to link below so that you have a copy if you would like to just see what I do. But this shows my blocks. So I have my block 1, and yep, most days of the week I get up at 4. Sometimes on the weekend I'll sleep a little longer, but I told you I'm a lion. I get up early and I like it that way, but I also go to bed. You'll notice block 4. I'm usually in bed by 9, sometimes even earlier. But you know, don't feel pressured into getting up at 4 just because that's what I do. So my time is God time. I write my On Fire Faith devotion. Oh, by the way, my God time, which again, doesn't have to be what you do, but I read the Bible, I do a devotion, and I pray. And I usually sit in front of my red light, which I'll link that below too in case you're interested. It's a healing light as well as helping your resetting your clock and stuff inside. And then like I said, I write the devotion that I post. And then at that point, I usually put together the kids' lunches, empty the dishwasher, anything that was left out. Since I go to bed early and my husband's a night owl, there are usually dishes in the sink. So I will get everything kind of situated. I try most days, this varies, but I usually try to walk and pray. And I'll do that usually somewhere around 5:45 in the morning, but it depends. Some days I go to the gym, some days I teach booty ballet, but that's kind of one of my main things. And then I try to stretch when I get home. Hopefully I don't walk in the door and there's a bunch of stuff that I have to deal with. And then get myself ready. And while I'm doing that, I oftentimes listen to a sermon or I just keep on praying for people. Then I drive my kids to school. So this would be a typical day that I am at home working, not at the office. So on a home day, I would work in, I call it the revved up block, because this is when I try to alternate between 1 hour of writing or filming or editing. And then I alter that with some kind of cleaning or food prep so that I kind of have a mix of things and give my brain a little bit of a break. I don't do an hour of cleaning and food prep though, so I'll do like an hour of work and then I might work on something for 15 minutes and then I go back to the hour again. And then in my third block is when it's the fam block, because it's my family. So I pick up my kids, I unpack their lunches and talk to them. They usually want dinner right away at 3 o'clock when they get home. So I usually am feeding them food and then repacking their lunches and kind of cleaning up, helping with homework, listen to my boy play his guitar, any chauffeuring that I need to do around to activities. Fourth block, this is a little give or take depending on when dinner is done and stuff like that. But this is when I try to unplug a little bit. So I take my phone and leave it in the kitchen. I try to do some reading and journaling, and I always try to read a Bible verse or more. Depending on what I'm reading, sometimes I do a whole bunch of stuff, but I try to always leave my mind in a state of peace and joy when I go to sleep. And then lights out, put on a sleep mask, fan on for the white noise. And that is kind of how I block out my day. So the way that I kind of do it in my little planner, I did not really set this up for you guys to see because I just thought about it after the fact. But here is where I put my daily things that I do in the morning, my block, and then my evening block, my work block, things that I'm kind of always working on. I also made my own little time calendar by the hour, so I can kind of block out the things that I do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is kind of, useful if you have a day where when I go to work up at the office, I don't really use this because I'm really there from like 7:30 or 8 until 5:30, and then I'm driving an hour and a half each way. So really there's not a whole lot that it's pretty obvious what would fit into those times. But I do usually try to keep a to-do list, and maybe the things that I'm currently working on, like whatever podcast I'm listening to, or, keep notes on that. I also like to do a little brainstorm during the week on a Sunday, and I kind of write through my week, what my week looks like. So I'll write in the things that are going on during the week and things that I plan on doing to try to clean. Because if you have watched any of my cleaning videos, I try to do just a little bit each day. And that way on the weekend, I'm not cleaning. Very rarely do I do a whole bunch, maybe a little bit of laundry. So I just try to kind of brain dump, get it all down on paper. And then when I look at my planner each day, so I'm going to flip back to my very first page that I have. This one, then I just go, okay, on Monday, what else stuff did I have on the agenda? And then I just kind of jot those things down and see what I can add or subtract, or where I can shift things in case it's just looking like a busy day. So that's kind of how I do it. I try to give myself an overall week look and then take it one day at a time. This is just my way of sort of blocking things out. A lot of times I will kind of refer back to an overview of the whole month though too, so that I kind of see, yeah, I have a few gaps here and there. How would I like to use that? And then, I have some time where like we're off the entire week out of town or whatever. And that's great. I've planned around it. I have the time. I know what I'm doing the rest of the time, and I can enjoy that and not be stressed about it. So that's the planner. Okay, so I challenge you to take the quiz and capitalize on your chronotype. What can you do that will maximize your most effective time of the day? I want to challenge you to look at your habits. Which ones are good? You probably have some really good ones. I bet you brush your teeth every day. I hope so. That would be a good habit. But what habits are you doing that are not helping you? And how can you just make a simple little solution that will stop that negative habit and take you on a good habit? Simply plugging your phone in the other room or whatever the case might be. And then how can you block out time so that you can hyper laser focus and really make your brain work its best during that time that you are on fire. So I would love to hear from you. What's your chronotype, and what are you going to do to try to work on making some progress, being productive in whatever area is going on in your life? So thanks so much for being with me. I hope that you like this kind of video. If you do, I would love to hear from you. If you can give it a thumbs up, it helps if you subscribe too, because then it helps me and you get to see what else is coming when I do post. And so if you have any concerns, problems, prayers, requests, I would love to hear from you. And I hope that you go out and live your life on fire.